To coin a phrase, hello, good evening, and welcome to the online property meet 2022. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope it's a nice, prosperous one. First of all, I'd like to mention welcome to everybody. Welcome to who is here, the audience, the speakers, our sponsors who are Luck Capital. One of them is here now tonight, Will Lucy. HD Property in Sussex and Property CEO, Commercial Training Company, who aren't here. Neither a Sussex or CEO here, but it's nice to say hello anyway. So I'll get on with that. What's happened? What's happened since December? Well, the dreaded COVID, that's kept on, and it's been nearly touched us this year in the last couple of weeks over Christmas. Came close, but I think we've got away with it. What else has happened? Interest rates went up, didn't they? Interest rates went up a little bit.
Yeah.
A sign of things to come, perhaps. We were just talking before the meet started and saying about restaurants and people like that having staff shortages, and builders, which would affect us, builders and suppliers of building equipment, and the problems that they'll have with drivers and getting the stuff made. They had a big thing about plasterboard, didn't they? But there we go. So without further ado, I'd like to kick the meet off. Will Lucy, if he's ready, I'd like to get him to start us off. Will, are you ready?
Super. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I am ready. Thank you very much, Rob, and good evening, everybody, and obviously happy New Year. So I'm gonna share my screen, and so we can actually get this started. I think that's the one here. So yes, my name is William Lucy. I'm a commercial broker. Okay, specialising in development finance, really mainly. That is the main thing I do. I'm just going to take through a couple of slides here, okay? Before I kind of get into this, what I kind of want to do today, okay, just to sort of give you a quick snippet, I'm just going to go into some of the products I think that really help everyone. I get the feeling at the moment, right, that I don't know that where everyone is using what they could use, okay, in the finance world. I do get that distinct feeling when I go around and I hear things and how people are funding things. So I just want to point out a few things and invite anyone to come and have a chat about what they're doing and their plans, to see if actually I can add some value through the funding in anyone's particular property business, okay? Because I'm sure there's some things that people are missing. So before I start, I just need to cover a few things as normal. So when what I talk about in this little presentation, okay, will all be for business purposes. It's all for limited company borrowers. So it's aimed at just an educational purpose, really. It's not personalized advice. I might touch on some sort of legal or tax points and things like that. If I touch on any of those, always take your own advice in that area. This is just purely for education purposes, to kind of have a rounded picture. Okay, and any products I actually do mention, they are subject to change because it's commercial finance we're talking about. So, and they obviously are subject to actually applying and the lender's due diligence process, okay, and underwriting. So that out the way, let's crack on. So I'm not necessarily go massively into my background. Some of you have already heard me kind of times anyway, so you know I'm an ex-FD, I'm a chartered accountant. I worked in various different development businesses before starting my own one. Just not development business, of course, just doing development finance, because that's the part that I actually love. So here we are 4 years later. So, okay, so let's actually start in the beginning here, okay? So what I'm trying to do here is to say, well, how can finance work for you? Because I do feel, as I said, that there's quite a lot of people maybe not using it in the right manner. So I don't know if you have at the moment, but all of you should have new goals, okay, for 2022. That's the way it works. I was going to do a page on goal setting, but I thought I might be straight off subject, but I'd love to do one of those at some point, right? So your goals, you've got to meet them, okay? At the moment, if you are a property developer or you're a property investor and you have a property business, okay, there are ways and means that you can grow this, and there are ways and means you can do your developments and fund them. There are a number of different products, okay? And at the moment, lender confidence is high. We get a lot of scenarios at the moment where lenders are actually competing with each other on a certain deal, and they kind of go to quite, they sort of narrow down on the pricing, and they try and beat each other. They want to do business at the moment. So the key here is, are you ready to use finance properly, okay, to grow in 2022? So, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, well, what a lot of capital we're going to do here is we're going to say, well, if you basically, how can we serve you best? Okay, that's what we want to know this year, because there is so much that can be done with finance, and so in so many different ways. And so what I'd love to do is hear about what your scenario is. I'd love to hear about what your plans are, what projects you're going to do, because there are some finance products that will work really well with what you're about to do. There were some that would still work, but they wouldn't serve you necessarily as well. So I'd love to hear about what you're going to do, see if I can actually improve. Okay, and it's just that it can be actually a general relaxed chat. This is nothing, salesy. Okay, so I'd just love to talk to you. I'd love to hear about what you're doing, see if I can add some value to what you're doing. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, though, here is just take you through some of the products, just to give you a snippet of an idea. So they're going to be quite broad, and within there's lots of different criteria, lots of different things you might be doing that might make your scenario differ to what's exactly on this product each time. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so the first one I've got is refurbishment finance. Okay, so if you are buying things and you're looking to develop, but your mode of developing is going to be looking at refurbishments, okay, rather than ground up developments, which lots of people are doing at the moment. Okay, the refurbishments people are favoring because the building is already there, and you are just reconfiguring the internal of the building, the structure that already stands. Okay, so they can often be slightly quicker to do. But arguably, the planning is maybe a bit easier if it's on the permitted development rights. Okay, so it gives slightly less risk in terms of the planning side of things. Okay, but what these products do here is they almost work a little bit like a bridging loan. They're not quite a full development loan. They work like a bridge in that their interest is charged monthly, and it's always shown monthly when they're advertising their products in terms of the lenders. And then what you can achieve is there's generally no exit fee either. So you have a setup, you have monthly interest, and the idea is it's designed for you to do the product, do this conversion quick, either get out and refinance it or sell it, whatever you might be doing. And what it allows is, because these products are designed for shorter term and they're designed for things with structures that are already in place, they can be a little bit higher leverage. So it's not impossible that you could get, say, 75% on the purchase price as well as borrowing 100% of the works. I mean, that is quite incredible considering what you can actually do. And you're amplifying your money if you're borrowing responsibly and you're doing your due diligence. It is incredible what you can do. So these can be used for, as I say, commercial conversions, flat splits, HMO, complex HMO conversions. So probably generally more than 7 beds that you use these for. And you would also use them for 6-bed HMOs, but that required planning. Okay, that's what you use these for. People, I'm sure you guys know that when you do a development loan, the lender employs someone to monitor the build. Normally a quantity surveyor, and they charge quite a lot of money to actually do that. They charge a fee for monitoring each drawdown, etc. And with these, another advantage with these lenders is because the work is arguably not as complex, although it can be. They use a lighter touch monitoring, so it can actually work out slightly cheaper. Often these kind of lenders have products where they employ directly a monitoring surveyor to go and verify these drawdowns. It just makes it a little bit cheaper and it makes it a bit slicker. Okay. With the use of these, because it works a bit like a bridge, it is possible to use additional security to bump up the borrowing. So if you had another property that you can offer a second charge on, or another property you had, say a buy to let with no finance on it, you can technically borrow up to 100% if you wanted to, by using that extra security. Okay. And you can use mezzanine as well, but I won't go into that. Most people don't, because it sort of ruins the margins a little bit. So let's move on. Bridge to let products, right. The reason why I differentiated from the last slide with the 6-bed HMO requiring planning is because if you were doing a conversion or a HMO conversion or some other kind of refurb that only required permitted development rights, you could potentially use a bridge to let product instead. What are these? Okay, well, on the slide before, it was a product that funded towards the purchase, and it also funded the build works. What these ones do is they don't fund the build works. Okay, you fund the build works on these ones because it's normally a much smaller proportion of what you're doing, because it's a lighter refurb. Okay, So what these are able to do is, because you are adding value, and because these, again, they're a shorter cycle, there are products here where you can, they're quite high leverage products. You can sort of say maybe do 80 or 85%. And that is based on an uplift in value, of course. So you have to demonstrate that it will be worth more at the end, okay, in order to get that kind of level. So the beauty of this one is the main thing people use this one for is when they're converting something and refinancing it. Because if it's a very quick conversion, and what normally happens is if you bridge it with someone, okay, let's say you do take out a bridging loan with a lender, you refurbish it within 2 months. When you go to refinance it with a mortgage lender, they say, well, they'll probably say to you, well, actually, you've got to wait 6 months before you can refinance at the new value, okay? There are a couple that may allow it, but generally speaking, they want you to wait. So this way around, what these bridge to let products are provided by one lender. Okay, so the lender provides a buy-to-let loan at the end, and they also provide the bridge. Okay, so this can be advantageous. Okay, in many examples. So one is that you can actually refinance within 6 months at a higher value when the works are done. Okay, it allows you to maybe draw out some of your original cash you put in there and recycle it into the next purchase. The other one is in terms of for new developers, particularly, is that you can do these with some lenders where it's just one application. So one application gets you the bridge, and it also gets you the a guaranteed exit. Okay, so people don't have to worry that whether the exit is there or not. And you have a valuer verifying the values of stuff that you're doing. So it kind of gives you a bit of comfort too. So let's move on because we've got a few of these. I'll just touch on this one. It is a bit more complex, but there is such a thing as a revolving facility. Okay, for the portfolio landlords out there. Okay, which probably I don't think this is going to work on any less than 3 buy-to-lets. Okay, but should you have a buy-to-let portfolio of residential properties, what you can do is you can set up an ongoing revolving second charge, okay, facility that sits on your portfolio, and you can basically use it and pay it back, and use it and pay it back as you wish. Okay, within the 3, it's normally a 3-year term. The advantage of this is you set it up once, okay? And if you are looking to sort of aggressively grow your portfolio, what you can do is you can draw those funds, buy a property, do it up, refinance the property, and pay those funds back. And you can keep doing this. You only pay one setup fee. That's the beauty of it. So, and you only pay interest when the funds are being used. So it can be quite effective, and it can be more cost effective than using a bridging finance, because if you do, say, a number of property deals, each time you use a bridging finance, you've got obviously a bit of legals, and you've got a setup fee for each time you do it. So it can certainly be more effective than bridging finance. So that's worth considering, okay? These are all products people don't necessarily think about, but they can be amazing. Okay, the other one is that we see is that people do seem to overlook is that what, I guess, maybe more in, I say, recent times, maybe in the last year or two, we've noticed more, is that developers are maybe looking for houses which have corner plots or large gardens so that they can obtain planning on those for an additional house. A way you can do this in terms of buying it efficiently is what you could do is, if the property is rentable, okay, the other properties on the site, what you could do is you could take a buy-to-let loan on that property and rent it, okay? As you buy this piece of land, okay, and lenders are okay with this, by the way, this is not a trick. So we've got commercial lenders. Say there's a piece of land like this. On this half here, there's a buy-to-let property, and on this hand, it's just a piece of garden. What we find is some developers, they buy it, they split the title on purchase, okay, and then when they do that, on the same day, they buy the actual buy-to-let, the property that's existing with a buy-to-let loan, okay. Now, why that's advantageous is A, you can obviously achieve 75 net rather than having to have interest deducted. For those of you that have done a bridging loan before, you know what that's like, okay. Of course, it'll be on a lower rate as well. You're able to obviously rent out the property and get some income from it. And it allows you to kind of sit on it a bit longer, because sometimes the planning on these kind of things can go on a bit, okay? So you don't know really how long it's going to take to get the planning. You might have to appeal it. You might have to put another planning out. You might only have to do a couple of pre-apps until you get it right. So it's nice not to be stressed, okay? So this can be quite a good way of doing it. So that's one more, okay? Moving on. Okay, so here's the other one. Some developers have been, as they build up and getting quite busy, they've been sort of thinking, actually, it would be quite ideal if I was able to actually change. And I've literally just built this and I was going to sell it. However, I'm actually thinking I might just actually keep the whole lot and refinance it. Now, there are absolutely brilliant products for this. I mean, there are commercial lenders here who will just refinance an entire block of flats that you've just built without having to split any titles or anything like that. They'll just take all of them on one mortgage. it makes it a bit easier because not only can they do that with a property, sorry, a multi-flat site, they could also use it if you did a huge, if you say if you did a house, a development site, say 10, 15, 20 houses, they could technically refinance all of those on one mortgage at the end. It makes it a bit more simple in terms of renting it out. They could also do it if it's actually a mix of commercial and residential. There are semi-commercial products out there as well. There's something for everything, really. And the advantage here is, of course, you're only dealing with one commercial lender, which means one set of legals, which means one valuation on the whole site. Okay, so it just keeps things simple. So here as well, you typically are looking at borrowing up to 75%. I think they'll definitely get any higher than that. But they are brilliant products. If you're looking to do some build to rents, you could line this up for a couple of months before you think the property is going to complete. In terms of complete the build of the properties. You could line it up, do the application, get it all sorted, and then just send the valuer out as soon as they're visually complete. And you could really move as quickly as you can from the development finance rate to a buy-to-let rate, get them all rented out. So that can be very powerful. So the other one is, as you're building, okay, at the moment as well, maybe things are taking a little bit longer to build. The supply chain is not that great. Okay, so maybe you've had a bit of issue getting some of the materials that you need to complete your build. Okay, so what we're finding now is that sometimes people get to the end, but they need a little bit more time. So there's two scenarios. They've got development finance, they've produced their development, it's almost finished. Okay, they're either looking for some more time, thinking, well, I haven't got any development finance. I've already extended the development finance by a couple of months. In that case, what we can do is we could refinance the development finance with a bridging loan. Again, LTVs on that one, it's up to 85% at the moment. It's quite an amazing product. So what that can do is that can do two things. It can basically either provide more time in terms of just refinancing your development loan, allowing you another 12-month marketing time, okay? Or it can, or it can actually capital raise from that development, allowing you to put the cash into a new venture, okay? That's what we see happen a few times, okay? And rates here, again, they are very competitive. Lenders quite like these because they're finished products. They can see that they're finished. They often have new build warranties on them. You can give all the evidence and all the building sign off and the building regulations, certificates and things like that, okay? So they do like them. On the one where you're just refinancing to sell, you could use, sometimes you do have the ability to retain some of the sales proceeds as you sell them. So if you say had a block of 10 flats, after you sold a few, the lender may allow you to keep some of those proceeds from subsequent sales as they go through. Okay, it doesn't necessarily all have to go down to paying down the debt. I mentioned bridge to let options here because, like I mentioned bridge to let earlier, they can be used the other way around as well. So you could actually bridge with a pre-agreed buy to let at the end, sell as many as you can, and whatever's left could just roll onto a buy to let. There's many different ways of doing it. Okay, I think that's the last one. That's it. That is the last one. So I'm trying to give you a snippet there of all the kind of things that are available. So what I would say is if when you're looking into a venture, if you've got some property plans, speak to a good broker, because tell them what your plans are. They should be able to think dynamically about it. They can look holistically and say, well, what other things have you got? What can we do that's actually going to bring the cost down and work for you overall, give you the flexibility that you need? Okay, it's really important, and it is the lifeblood of a growing property business. Okay, so but anyway, thanks for listening. Please do get in contact with me if you want to chat through anything. I'd obviously love to hear from you, love to stay in touch and hear about what you're up to. So I will whiz my details into the chat afterwards as well, just to make sure, just in case you missed them. And happy if anyone wants to whiz any questions to the chat, of course, happy to do that. So otherwise, I'll hand you back to Rob and say thank you very much for listening, and I'll speak to you later on. Rob's on mute though.
Yeah, Rob's on mute.
Okay.
He's talking away, but he's on mute. Great stuff, Will. Thank you very much. Very interesting. And Will is actually coming back to the meet as a speaker, as a main speaker next month in February.
Yes.
Yes, that's true. So you can put something together for that, Will, which you would like to do. Right. Next speaker, Mr. Sam Fongo. We did have Jay Howard, who was actually scheduled in for the meet, but Jay had to pull out last minute. And Sam has very kindly offered to step in for him. So he's an auctioneer, he's an auction process person, So I'll just hand over to you, Sam, if you're ready. You're on mute, Sam, I think. I think
Good.
you're on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Away you go, Sam.
Okay. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to yourself, to you, and of course to Jay. In fact, my background is the property question time, which I normally before COVID, of course, moderated for Auction House for the last probably about 7 years. And funny enough, I picked this background. It is, in fact, what links me and Jay. When Jay just started work with Auction House, probably the first event I ever attended, within the first month, he met me at that event. We became friends, and he introduced me to his bosses. I used to do lots of events, and then I started doing the property question time. So I was Jay's first client at Auction House, and we became very good friends for the last 7 years of doing events. So one of my claim to fame, before I introduce myself, is that I've attended every single Auction House auction for the last 7 years because I had to be there to run this event. Without much further ado, I'm just gonna, I hope I have the right now to share my screen. I will show you, let me just show you my PowerPoint presentation. I'm gonna go through. Okay, we are here. Okay, just before I can you see the slides? Are you seeing my screen?
I can see it fine, Sam.
Okay, great. So let me just, I know there's a chat box here. Let me just see how many people here have actually bought from an auction before. If you just say in the chat box, I'm going to look in the chat to see if just so I know who is in the room. Anyone that's bought from auction before? Okay, well, a few people. Anyone that's been to an auction before? Okay. Anyone that's seen Homes Under the Hammer? So I expect everyone to say yes, yes, yes to that, because usually everyone definitely seen Homes Under the Hammer. That's always an easy one. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do tonight is I've got a bigger presentation here because of the short nature of the timing. I didn't have an opportunity to actually build an application just for a presentation for today. So I'm going to use a standard one, but I'll go through a few pages. How much time do I have again?
Sorry, what was that, Sam?
How much time do I have? How many minutes do we have?
You've got half an hour or so.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to get something that, okay. Just a quick one about myself. I do a lot of rooms on Clubhouse. Those of you that are on Clubhouse, you might have walked into one of the Clubhouse rooms that I run. Usually on Wednesday, now, and I've got someone covering for me to be here. I do for the last year, I run a Clubhouse room, which is why I've got that on there. Then we do a monthly event in Wembley, which before lockdown. And we, as Midas, we've run events for Harrow, Brent Council, quite a few local authorities in London for the last 5 to 6 years. So that's what Midas, as a company, that's what we do. As a company, what Midas actually does is we acquire properties for clients from auctions, and we dispose on the behalf of clients. So we are an independent brokerage firm when it comes to auction space. So we, everyone thinks we only work with Auction House London, but we do work very closely with Auction House London, closely with a network auction, with all subs. So we are the go-to firm to actually get your property sold at the best possible auction company for you. We believe that not every single property fits every auction company. So we match your property with the best auction company. Just before I actually start presenting, this is just a bit of background of speakers that we've had at our events. I'm just gonna talk a bit about, for 2 minutes, my skill sets. To do what I do, which is valuing properties for auction, you absolutely need to have all the skills required in the property industry. There's very little about auctions that I don't know, the front and the back end, how to value properties, how to structure deals at auction, to set reserves, guide, underwrite. So everything at auction, just feel free to ask me any questions on auction, anything that I don't know. Usually, I always describe myself as an auction expert, but when Jay or Pure are involved, I call myself a scholar because I learn a lot from Jay. So when Jay is around, I tend to change the expert to scholar. So that is and then HMOs, very knowledgeable on HMOs, very little that I don't know about HMOs, property development. We need all the skills, the value sides, look at risk analysis on property development. Networking events, I love networking. I speak at lots of events, organize lots of events myself. This, for me, I think is my most comfortable state of being when I'm speaking on an event or I'm on stage, especially the live event. So that's the biggest thing that I miss with lockdown, is not being able to attend live events. Myself and Jay and Ranjit, most people know Ranjit from Property News. We always used to make a joke that the auction days, auction house were like our wedding. We're the first people to turn up at the site to set up. So we love it. BRRR, just like we'll introduce some great finance products that you can use for BRR. I understand what needs to be done. Deal structuring, JV, and all these skills are skills that you require to actually value a property. Because when you're valuing a property for auctions, you need to look at the various exit strategies. So you need so many skills to be able to value a property at auction. So I'm going to leave out the auction updates. For me, what I always say, the simplest way I describe auctions is that I think auctions are a gladiator game. It's not for kids, it's for adults. You've got the streets are littered with gold, diamond, but everyone has a sword and a shield. But it's whoever can use those two together that can make it at auction. There's so many opportunities to be had at auctions. Okay, if you can take a picture of these words that I've got on the screen. These are the words I would that I'm going to use all through this evening. And if there's any word in there that you do not hear me mention it tonight, or you don't understand what it means, you can simply use it to compose a question. So it's quite simple. I think if you can randomly generate a discussion that names all of these words, you will probably pass as an auction expert. So that is a good number of words to have. Okay, and I'm not going to talk too much about auction, but we haven't got a lot of time. But this, before lockdown, was a typical English auction. This was a typical Australian auction, because in Australia, they do their auctions in front of the house. It's not that important, but I just thought it's just one of those pointless facts that at times I like to put just to add a bit of spice to it, to auctions. Okay. What I'm going to start is talk about this national and regional auctions when you come to the auction world. I think just stepping back, before lockdown, you had everyone going either putting a property to a local auction where they live, or they put it into London. There's a big difference between a local auction and a national auction company. When I say that, what is the key difference? A national auctioneer is an auction that most of them are based in London, that would list properties across the UK. Whereas regional auctions are auction companies that maybe cover almost like an estate agent, a small patch of where they are actually based. That, for me, is what I call a regional auction. And I'll come back to why there's a big difference between the two auctions very soon, later on during our chat. Okay. Okay, so just coming back to I'm trying to look at a cycle that, okay, now just based on the fact that we have different skill levels in the room, I'm going to give you a very big sort of a rundown of what an auction is by giving it a cycle, a life cycle of an auction property. What happens before you actually get a catalog and you see a property in it? What has that property gone through for you to see it? So for a property to come to your desktop on a catalog, what does it go through? First, we have someone that would have done a marketing call to yourself, or someone that's done an email or a lead magnet somewhere online, and someone completes a name, a number, and the property, where you get called up. Then what will happen is that the auctioneer or salesperson, or could be myself, I will speak to the owner and try and agree a reserve, because that's very important. We agree a reserve price for the property. And based on that reserve, we'll then have a guide price to actually sell that property, to list it at auction. Once we've agreed the reserve and the guide price, we now have to request that the vendor sends us pictures, floor plans, and everything that's required to actually get that property listed in a catalog for you to see it as an auction lot. Then, once you have it on as an auction lot in the catalog, it gets advertised on the internet. The catalog gets emailed to everyone. It goes onto Zoopla, it goes onto mailing list, and you can find the properties. But if you are going to take auctions a bit more seriously, there's a system called EIG, which David Sanderman runs. It's the best place for you to find auction properties on EIG. Once that property is listed onto the catalog, it's all emailed out. You have to do your due diligence on it. You look at the legal pack, which I'm going to mention a lot more about. Then you do a viewings, you check out the property, maybe consult your local estate agents. And one of the advice I always give everyone, if you are going for viewings, it's important that you either have a catalog with you, or there are no catalogs now, or you actually have a print out of the property description. Because through all this, I haven't mentioned me or any auctioneer going to site to see the property. So when we actually type a description of a property, we sell it, is based on what the vendor has told us. No one actually goes out to say it. So if I value a property that Rob sent to me as a 3-bedroom flat, and I say the reserve is 100,000 for the guide, and you turn up on the open house and you see that it's a 2-bedroom because a 3rd bed hasn't got a window, if you call the auction company with that feedback, we would use that feedback, call the vendor and say, we gave you 100 price, because 100,000 as a reserve, because we thought it was a 3-bedroom, but we now have feedback that it's a 2-bedroom. It's not really a 3-bedroom. So we are going to revise that to 90,000. So it's very important. That's tip number 1, that when you go, number 2, when you're going to view a property, just make sure that you have the description with you, because the description that you are seeing is actually been given by the owner of the property, and it might not be accurate in most cases because it's not been described well. So you need to look at it very carefully. You cannot buy a property and then pick up the keys after you've exchanged completed, and then you call the auctioneer and say, oh, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to take it to court. You sold this property, I bought it thinking it's a 3-bed, but it really is a 2-bed. Because on the small print on the auction catalog contract, it actually states, I have seen this property and I'm happy with it. So you cannot come back. that is the only opportunity if you need to revise the description of the property is during the open house and the viewings. Okay, once you've seen the property, what do? You come up to auction room or you bid online, as everything is gone online right now. If you don't want to bid, you might make pre-auction offers, and I encourage everyone to make pre-auction offers. They're free. Everyone can make a pre-auction offer. It can be accepted or not accepted, but you have to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get it. There might be properties that can be given out that you can actually get sold before. And the tips for viewing is quite important to maybe, again, check the description that it matches. That's the easiest tip that you have when you go to do viewings. Maybe take a builder with you if it's a project that you need to do any work on it, just so that someone is there that can give you right guidance on how much it will cost you to do the work. So I think that is a brief cycle of what a property goes through. I'm going to give you a brief cycle of what let me see, I have a cycle here of what a buyer goes through as well. So I'm going to go through that cycle of what a buyer goes through. Okay, so I've gone through the cycle of an auction buyer, and then this is the cycle that a property will go through, a similar sort of cycle. Let me just see. Okay, got this cycle of an auction buyer. Yeah, so this is a cycle that you as a buyer will go through. One of the cycles what a property goes through, and one is what a buyer goes through as well. So if you look at those, they're very similar, what a property goes through and what you as a buyer will go through. You view the property, you make offers, or you come into the room just like a property will go through. So okay, now okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on the difference between estate agents and auctioneers, because that will take us much longer than we have. Okay, let me okay, so what I'm going to do next is just give you guys some case studies of how you can make money from auctions. Okay, now at auctions, I've mentioned pre offers. This property here, I'm going to give you a deal that we've done for one of our clients in Ealing. What this was, it was a short lease property. The property had about 56 years of lease left on the lease to expire. And what we did, it was actually guided at 270 as an auction lot. We contacted the we had a client that was interested in acquiring the property. We contacted the auction company to make an offer before the auction, to be able to allow our client to not just buy the property before the auction, but we wanted to actually make an offer and change the terms of transactions. What does that mean? Typically, an auction purchase has to be completed within 28 days. But when you are making a pre-auction offer, you can actually vary the terms as opposed as not just the price. So we made an offer that we can buy this right now at say 280 and pay rents while the property was being transacted, but we wanted to complete in 4 months as opposed to the 28 days or sooner. And while that completion was going through, we wanted the vendor solicitor to act on our client's behalf to extend the lease. So what we ended up doing is we had the offer of 280 accepted for that property. We paid some rents to pay a nominal amount every month to the owner, which they were very happy with that. But in the meantime, their solicitor acted on the behalf of our vendor to extend the lease at 40,000. So that leaves that property from 280 to buy, and 40,000 to extend. That's 320. With other fees, it actually cost our clients 340. Guess what? There was a similar property a few doors down the line being listed online for about 430, 440 with a full lease. So if you look at you doing a BRR, where you buy a property, build it out, refinance, this is a BRR with your hands in your pocket. So when you see properties that have short leases on auctions, they are a great opportunity for you to actually look at. So in this case study, we've seen short lease, we've seen pre-auction offers, how they work. We've seen delayed completion, which is deal structuring, yeah, and then we've seen lease extension skills. So I've demonstrated 4 skills here. So what I've done for all the deals that we do, I picked a few case studies that would then demonstrate a few things to you and then talk to you about auctions. So that especially when it's a very short presentation, I pick case studies that would actually demonstrate certain elements of the auction as well. So then Q&A will then deal with a lot more. Okay, the next case study that we have, this one, I don't know if there's anyone that lives in Luton, you might recognize this building. This building is in a very affluent part of Luton. I know Jay is not a big fan of Luton. Jay will say, Jay was here, Jay will say, oh, I didn't know there's an affluent part to Luton, but there is an affluent part to Luton. Jay, it's a good, there's some excellent parts of Luton. This property here, it's a shop and upper, a 3-bed semi-detached that has been made into, you can see there's a supermarket here. There's a restaurant next here, like a hot food takeaway, and then above the 3-bedroom flat. It's a repo. It's being repossessed. That's why I call it toxic. Why do I call it a toxic plot? Because what's happened is that here, if you look at the can you read the writings here? Yeah. Okay. If you look at here, it says lease unknown, current rent unknown. You can see that no one in the right senses will buy this property because you're not going to go bid for a property that you do not know who the tenant is or how much you're paying. This kind of properties, they're normally being sold by LPA, by receivers. When properties are being repossessed, there are 2 types of vendors. There are 2 types of people that are being repossessed. The first are reasonable people like you and I, whom they know when to stop fighting. You know, if you haven't paid your loan, you're being repossessed, you give in, and you work with the receivers to make sure they sell your property at the best possible price. So you provide everything that they require. They will get it sold. The next set of people are people who are a bit delusional. They do not agree that they've lost the fight. The property is being repossessed. They would not provide the information that's required. So the lot looks very bad on paper. So it goes to sell, tenant unknown, no tenancies, nothing. This could be a HMO. This could be a house. It could be anything. No one bid. That, for me, is a greatest opportunity at auction, because when I see these ones, that's the kind of properties that I look for my clients, because what I need to do is fill those gaps. So what I did for this one, I went to the property. This was being sold by Allsops. When I saw it, I made phone calls to my contacts in Allsops. They didn't have the information that I needed. I went to this place, went in here, bought some chips, went into the shop. Before long, there's a very good pub around the corner. I went to watch a Liverpool game in there. Before long, I knew everyone around. I knew people locally. So I had to fill the gaps. So that is where you have to be Inspector Columbus at auction. So opportunities at auctions are the properties that no one else wants. That's why you look at your tips, how to make money, look for the properties that no one else would want. And this one is one of those ones. So you've seen that one. Okay. This one, it's I'm going to come back to this one. Let me go to this one first, then I'll come back to you because this one has an element that I haven't covered. This one was a fantastic property that was going for sale. This property has been sold in Waltham-on-Thames, KT12, lovely postcode by the River Thames, very affluent part of London. And just this property is a 3-bed semi-detached that had been converted into 2 flats, a 1-bedroom on the ground floor and a 2-bedroom on the first floor. The first floor was vacant. The ground floor had a tenant. Why I thought, let me look at this case study in particular, is because the ground floor tenant was a protected tenant. Protected means you cannot serve them Section 21. As long as they're paying you rent, they had their rent protected at £700 per month. You could not get them out. You have to buy with them. Typically, when the normal buyer sees a property with a sit-in tenant, they will walk away. Now, that's not what we do as professionals. We look for those properties that have problems. Now, if you look at the insert here, this insert right here is next door. Next door had been, they've done a loft conversion, gone into the loft. This one had not gone into the loft. So for me, I see opportunities in the problems that they have with lots. So I went to view the property, recommended it to a client, came in. This 2-bedroom flat here, normally the market rate for it should be maybe 950 in that area, or 1 or 2, 1.5 bedroom on the ground floor of a garden. But because it was a probate being sold by a charity, we could not make a pre-auction offer that could not be accepted because it's a charity. The vendor that passed away protected his tenant so that the tenant could stay because it's been a long-term tenant for him. And then he gave his estate to a charity. He didn't have anyone to inherit his properties. So, so now most people will walk away from this property. There were very few people at the open house because no one wanted to see it, because as soon as everyone looks at it, there's a sitting tenant, they do not turn up. What do we do? This was sold for $295. It was bought for $295. And what was the exit strategy for this? One, you can go into the first floor, go into the loft, maybe create a 3rd flat in the loft. That would be fantastic. Then you have the ground floor, the first and the loft. You can have 3 flats in there. Secondly, you can go to the first floor, go into the loft and make the loft maybe a HMO or a big property. It will be a great cash flow because you've got the ground floor protected, because you've got a tenant on the ground floor. And what the 3rd exit strategy is to go sit down with the tenant after you bought the property, see if you can buy them out. Because if you look at it, this tenant is paying $700 instead of maybe $900, $950. If you look at how much he's making or how much the shortfall in his rents are, it's about £200, £250 a month. If you calculate that, maybe you make him an offer of maybe £15,000 or £20,000 cash upfront, he might take it and walk away. Then you have the whole property. But these kind of negotiations, you can only do it once you bought the property. It's quite difficult to enter this kind of negotiations when you haven't got the property. So when you have a property like this, where there's a sitting tenancy on the ground floor, but there's more space in the property, you look at maybe 2 or 3 multiple exit strategies. And then you think to yourself, if this doesn't work, I'll go for this, I'll go for that. If in the event where the tenant do not want to move out, what this chap that bought the property did, I'm going to show you this, about one auction, the next month in auction, what he did, he split the title, put the upper part into auction and sold it for 221,000. If you look at it, he bought the whole house for 295, sold the ground floor alone, the top floor alone for 220. 220, 295 minus 220, that's like 70,000. So it means he actually owns the ground floor for 70,000. Where do you buy a property in London? A 2-bed flat for 70,000. So he owns that for 70,000. With that chap on the ground floor paying him £700, that's a 10% yield, right? So if he doesn't get that tenant out, he is on a 10% yield in London. Give me a property with 10% yield in London, I'll buy it tomorrow. And what tends to happen is that because this tenant is protected, the only way you can get them is Section 8. You never get a better tenant, but they have to pay their rent on time, because if they do not pay their rent, they know you're waiting to get them out. So that, again, like I said, I've picked these case studies very tactfully to actually bring across other subjects in. So that is how you look at opportunities. Do not look at auctions and say, oh, this is a good property. Be looking for the bad properties, and get yourself a power team, people like us that know how to solve the problem. That's what we do. My only known hobby is looking through legal parks and through auction lots. I just look through every single lot. It's fantastic. All due respect to people who go to church, you read the Bible over and over. I read the legal park, so we all probably praise the same God. So yeah, so my one just seemed to be I communicate through the legal parks and through the catalogs with them. Okay, so now this other property here is on the North Circular, A406. It's one of those I don't know. Okay, this one is in Tooting actually. Let me. I'm gonna get a different one that was in the North Circular. Okay, to because okay, this other property was in the North Circular in London. Totally a rundown property. The owner got moved to nursing home. They were actually keeping probably mice as pets, hundreds of them. The property stung completely, and we had it on auction. It did not sell in the room, so we had it the next day. I had an open house saying a fixed price proposition. I think the vendor would take about 320 or so. I had an open house. Lots of people came in, and I said the first person to get the auction house and pay that deposit gets it. The first guy went, paid it, and got it. But why I had this as a case study is that Brent Council and many councils in London and across the UK, they have grants for empty homes to bring back into use. The chap who bought this property, he was going to actually do it up and then rent it to the council. So the council gave him a grant of 60,000 on one condition, that he does the property and then rent it out to them for 5 years. You can either go for a grant or a low interest rate mortgage. Quite a lot of local authorities in London do it, even out of London. It's one of the case studies, just I've got so many in Wales, where the council was giving about 25,000 grand per lot. So you might not, you can see, because you see some of the properties that you see in northeast of England or in Wales, you see a property that's being sold for 40,000 or 25,000. You know there's no way that you can build that property back to that number. In those areas, it's quite difficult to do any project anymore because it's not worth your while building. So what the local council tends to do is that they incentivize developers with grants. So if you are looking to make money from auctions, when you see properties in certain boroughs that are run down, you check to see if that borough has a grant system in place. That way you can buy the property knowing that you're going to have a grant to do all the work. It's not going to be your money. So you get either a grant or a low interest loan to do it. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to skip this. We have a few properties that we're selling, but I'm going to skip them. Then just how are we doing for time? The Q&A time?
Yeah, I think it's about Q&A time. We've
Yeah,
got
okay.
you've got 5 minutes or so, and a bit of Q&A. Is
Okay.
that all right?
Okay, 5 minutes, and then we can do
I'll
that.
give you a shout, shall I?
Yes,
I'll give
let
you a
me just
shout.
stop sharing this, and then I can just I'm gonna share something with you again, just for a minute now. Okay, let me see. Okay, just let me just get this up. Okay. Okay, so okay, so I'm gonna come back. Okay, just before I go, I just thought let me just give you a 2 minute rundown of what we did in December. Let me see that. Okay, I think some okay, well, December, this is me my elements. Spoke quite a few. We had about 400 people in the room. I do a lot. I deliver on auctions to quite a few of the investors in London. This was in December before the restrictions came in again. I do a lot of clubhouse events, like I said before. But most importantly, in terms of deals, we sold this for a local authority in London, which we do disposals for them. Then we acquired this for a client, for an investor, about 2.5 million. But the exciting one was I acquired this for one of my clients in Manchester. It's a probate property, totally run down. This is one of the ones I've been busy today trying to get a bridging loan completed for them. This client, their son is about to break into the first team in Man United. So they've been looking for a property in Manchester for quite a while. And I spotted this on, which is really around where footballers actually live in South Manchester. So I acquired this for 403. When I first spotted this property guide at 280, I sent it to this couple. They went to do the viewing. It was about 30 people at the viewings. They loved it. The husband, the wife went again. There were about 30 people. They loved it. They told me to bid up to 500,000. They would do it. So for me, when I was bidding for this property, I was like a child, on a go-karting. I rammed everyone. I didn't even wait for Andrew Beanstalk to actually count to 3. As soon as I clicked, anyone came, I clicked again next, and we got to 403. If you go onto my Instagram, you can actually see me bidding for this. But I did a live video, and one of the things that you will see with this property, if you go to the to my Instagram, and then I was watching this one as well on Instagram, you can see that we are all different when we're buying or selling. I was selling this one, so I was so excited that they slowed it down to get 650 for my clients. But when I was bidding, I was shouting because Andrew Beanstalk was slowing things down. I would have bought this for under 400,000 for about 380, but he slowed it down. It went from 1,000 to 500, and then it made it more competitive for me. So that's it. This one, acquired this for a client. It's a high yielding HMO up north. We bought it, it was guided 140. We bought it for them for 150. So then there's a portfolio here that we've sold in December from Teesside. So December was a great month for us, and we hope to continue with the same momentum in January, and hopefully have a good 2022, as good, if not better than 2021. So I think I'm done speaking for now, and I can take some Q&As.
Okay, Sam, brilliant. Thank you very much. Dead interesting. Dead interesting. Are there any questions? Do we have any questions, Dan?
Let me see. I think there's some questions
in the.
I've seen some charts. Let me have a look. Do you want to read them out?
I can read them out for you here. I've got them right here.
Yeah, so that everyone can hear them.
Yeah. What would be your number one tip when you're in the auction room?
Okay. When auction rooms come back, that is, right now we don't have rooms, but if when I say if and when they do come back, because there's some companies that have come back now, but not all of them, it's turn up early, especially like auction house where we tend to have a networking event. It's good to come in a bit early before the auction actually starts, because one of the exercise that an auctioneer goes through is a read addendums at the beginning of the auction. So you might have been to see a property and something has changed. If you were not there and you just come when that property is being sold, you might buy without knowing that there's been a change. So it's always good to turn up early to if there's any changes. And when you turn up early, you're more relaxed. You can talk to people. You can maybe you might spot other people that were on the viewings. You can chat with them and find out what exactly their own strategies are. But it calms down your nerves. And you get a good position where you can see everyone before you start bidding. Okay.
Another question from Yogesh. If buying at the auction, are the best deals at the end?
Sorry, say that again.
If you're buying at the auction,
yes,
are the best deals at the end of the auction?
Wow. I'll probably answer that question slightly differently, where I will tell you how the catalog is put together. The way auction catalogs are put together is that auction, if you look at every lot, every auction catalog, catalog number one entry is always a property that the auctioneer is very confident will sell. You are, as an auctioneer, you almost like you're fixing your own game. There's no point you putting the most difficult property, lot number one. You don't want to not sell lot number one. So lot number 1, 2, 3, 4, they tend to be like properties that the auctioneer is very confident that will sell. I remember a few auctions ago, we were watching an auction, and when auction one, when lot 1, 2, they don't sell, for us as insiders, we feel sorry for the auctioneer. We think, oh my God, did they get it wrong? Someone like a football team manager that's got a wrong selection for a first team in a game, because lot 1, 2, 3 should sell. No, yeah. Then you come to about 5, 6. Then you put some duff, well, what I call duff ones that you're not too sure, and then you put some good ones. So auctioneers would arrange a catalog such that they're exciting lots at every point of the game to keep it busy. What you don't want is 5 or 6 unsold lots in one go. And then in terms of national auctioneers in London, they would put the ones from out of London very far towards the end, just in case they have some local interest that turns up in London a bit late. So in terms of are the best lots at the end, I would say no, it's really at the beginning of the auction catalog that you get the best lots. But then that is from the auctioneer's point of view, but for you as an investor, you might have some issues. Okay.
Okay, next one. Why did the buyer agree to delayed completion in case study 1 in Ealing?
Okay.
4 months
yes.
instead of 28 days.
Yes. Why it's all about negotiations. It's about making it a win-win. So and it's about finding out why. 80% of people that sell at auction, they're selling because they want a guaranteed buyer. Most of them they've been messed around through an estate agent. So most people would want a guaranteed buyer. So once you know that the vendor wants to make sure that they have a buyer first, and then if the vendor is not under pressure to complete by a certain day, i.e. they're not being repossessed or they don't owe anyone, they're just selling because they have to sell, you can induce them by saying, oh, by the way, we'll pay you a monthly rent or we'll pay your mortgage while we have that delay. So you need to be on a win-win. You have to offer a win-win, which is where it's quite difficult for you as an end buyer to structure some of these deals by yourself, because the auctioneers will not speak to 1,000 people. But a few of us that do this professionally, the auctioneers know us, because we place properties with them and we sell. if there's a property with all subs, they can allow me to speak to the vendor, but they will not allow anyone off the street to speak to the vendor. So I would understand the vendor situation. So I'll be advising the auction companies, oh yeah, he's good. He's good to do a delay completion. So you can do it, but you need to find out what can be attractive to the to the vendor to do it.
Okay. Couple more, and then we'll call it a day. We'll do Debbie's one, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay.
But first, what's the biggest difference between in-person auctions versus virtual?
Okay, in-room and virtual, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They're quite the key differences. From an auctioneer's point of view, okay, when the auctions are in the room, anyone turns up and you can bid for any property. But now that property auctions have gone virtual, you have to register before you actually turn up, before you bid online. You pay your deposit just to make sure that there's no one just bidding for the fun of it. So that by itself is it's a good, there's some goods and some disadvantages of that. The disadvantage of that is that auctioneers now, they know what properties are going to sell. If no one has registered for a particular property, it doesn't get offered. So in a way, that's why you can see that the sales reports now are looking like 92%. They're much higher sales rate than before, but that's not because they're selling a lot more necessarily. It's just because they're only counting, they only sell what they know they already have interest. So if there's no interest, it gets taken off. But the disadvantage to the auctioneer is that those properties that people used to bid last minute, they're gone. It was actually great as an auctioneer to have someone that turns up and then decide to buy something that they didn't plan to. Those ones are gone because everyone only buys what they plan to buy.
Yeah,
so, and then for you as a buyer, at times being in your own home, having your friends or people that are your support system, it makes you less nervous. So at times you can actually bid, but then it means everyone is more confident. So you want to be in a room where people can make mistakes and you can capitalize on them. But the biggest advantage to the auction industry is that an auction company that used to have 500 people in a room, now they have 2,000 or 3,000 people registered online to bid. So it's actually been fantastic for the industry. It's opened up the industry to a lot more people.
Yes, okay. Yeah, that sounds like sense, doesn't it? Right, last question from Debbie. What should you look for in the legal pack? Are there any warning signs?
Okay, yes. That's a very good question, actually. And I'm going to it's not interactive here, but usually if anyone can get this question right, it means they've attended one of my talks before. I always say the two most important documents in a legal pack. So usually I do it as an exercise to see who will get it. The first most important property document in a legal pack is the special condition. The special condition is a controlling document. It tells you all about everything that you need. At times, I read all the special conditions on all the auction properties I go to auction when I have time. I read them because they give you a lot more information than you need to. The second most important document in a legal pack, I'll just out of interest, can everyone just type what they think the second most important document is in the legal pack after the special condition? Because the special condition sets everything that you need to see. It tells you who the vendor is. It tells you if there are any fees. So it's always important to read the special condition. What is the second most important document? I'm just trying to see if anyone gets it. And I don't expect anyone to get it unless they've listened to me speak before. But for me, the second most important document in the legal pack is a document that should be in the legal pack that's not there. Why is it not there? Now back to the question, what's the most important thing to look at in a legal pack? A legal pack can be 5 papers or it could be 1,000. If you're buying a freehold property from Mr. and Mrs. Jones, that's it. It's 5 papers. The title, special condition, that's it. There's nothing else that you expect. You can review that legal pack in 2 seconds. But if you're buying a HMO that has 10 rooms or 5 rooms, you expect to see a license, you expect to see tenancy information, you expect to see all right to rent, you just expect a full bundle. If you're buying a development site, you expect to see 1,000 papers. You expect to see section 104, you expect to see a lot more. But most people say, oh yeah, this is a good legal pack because it comes from OSOPs or it comes from this company. The fact of the matter is that a legal pack is put into the system by the vendor. The auction companies do not say it. So the onus is on you to make sure that you're happy with the legal pack. Do not assume because it's OSOPs, oh, I know OSOPs has been there for 100 years, I trust it. OSOPs does not look at the legal pack. So what do you look at in the legal pack? You have to have your own checklist. You have to know what documents should be in there. If one is not there, why is it not there? That becomes the most important document for you. I'm done speaking for now.
Okay. Right. Well, brilliant, Sam. Very
Thank
interesting. You. Thank you very much. I'm glad you came.
Thank you. So I hope I did Jay justice, but like I said, Jay is our master. We all learn from Jay, but we do our best. Yeah. So it's good. So thanks for the opportunity.
The scholar is following up pretty well, I have to say.
Yeah. So thank you very much, and I look forward to when it will be back in the room when I can actually meet people and talk to people. So thank you.
Yes, by all means. Right. Okay. Well, Darren, are you there? Hello, Darren. I'm not muted, am I?
I hope I didn't put him to sleep. No, joking. It was Darren. I'm looking for him on now. Here.
Yeah, I'm looking for him.
Yeah. Okay.
Can't see him.
Okay. Oh, okay. I've got some messages here. If anyone wants to get in touch with me, I'm on Linktree. If you go into Linktree with Sam Fungo, you see my my contact details on Linktree. Yeah, so maybe
perhaps if you've got any more questions or anything like that,
if anyone
get hold of Darren.
Yeah, any more questions at all? Oh, if not, what I could do while you're trying to get Darren, I can introduce some. I mentioned things, some concepts while I was talking about underwriting. Who has ever heard of the term underwriting at auctions? Oh, okay. There's a question here. What's a modern way of auction? Okay, I think I'll answer that one first before I talk about underwriting. For me, the modern method of auction is what I personally, I think the modern method of auction is nothing but estate agents on steroids. Okay, to take a property to auction, what you have to do as a vendor is prepare the legal pack, agree a reserve and a guide price. What then happens is that the vendor, the auctioneer has the legal right to offer it at the reserve. No recourse, no need to contact the vendor anymore. If it gets to the reserve, they can sell it. However, the modern method of auction is a hybrid of auction where they have a legal pack of sorts. The reserve and guide are not as tight. So they would offer the property as a modern method of auction. You buy the option, buy within 28 days. And if you look at the special conditions on a modern method of auction, they say the vendor has maybe 48 hours to change their mind. So for me, I think modern methods are not worth the word auction. If I just call it modern method of estate agency, because the vendor can change their mind. You've only bought an option to buy. Anything can go wrong. The only person that benefits from modern method of auction, in my opinion, is the estate agent that's offering it, because you pay a non-refundable deposit. Usually, the legal packs are not comprehensive enough, like an auction company. So if you do buy and you don't like the property for any reason, your fees are non-refundable. So the person that really benefits the most from modern method of auction is the estate agent that's offering it. Okay, okay, let me see. I'm looking at how can I get this recording, please? Okay, I think you can ask Rod if you need to get the recording. I just wanted to mention that as a former conveyancer, vendors often hide additional fees for attracting. Okay, yeah, I think this is from a conveyancer. I strongly believe that auctions are the most transparent way of selling. We do know the conveyancers will write percentage in words or write numbers, but hey, basic skills, read and write. That's why everything is transparent. You just have to learn how to read and read with due diligence. If you do, then everything is transparent. Okay, let me see if there's any more questions that we can get. Okay, what's your biggest mistake, learning curve from auctions? I think with auctions, what I probably would say, what are the biggest mistakes I've seen people make at auction? The biggest, by far, is someone that bought a freehold, thinking that they bought a building. So this is, again, is why I say people do not rate where there's a freehold being sold. When you have a building that has 4 or 5 flats, each flat has a lease, and then there's a freehold to the building. So if you see a block of flat, a picture, and then is the price, the guide price is 20,000. Trust me, there's a high chance that you're buying the freehold and not the whole building. So someone had bought a freehold thinking that they bought the whole building. So I think those are some of the mistakes. Then when Will presented, he mentioned about how you can get finance to buy a property with a big garden, split it, and then get planning for the site. That when Will, actually I put a note on here when Will was speaking, that's one of the biggest mistakes I've seen someone make. Some traders will buy a property like what Will described to us, split the garden in half, keep the site for themselves for planning, and then sell the other property. But the pictures would not be different. So during the open house, you come in, you see a house with a big garden, you look through it, but if you read the legal part correctly, there will be that word retracted. They will say the whole property is being offered without the retracted land. It will be in a small print in the legal part. That's where if you do not read it, you say that they will typically use a viewer to do the open house. So there will be no one there to answer any questions. You go through, review the property, you go and bid on the day of the auction. As soon as you buy the property, you come back, they put a fence right there that same afternoon after the auction. There will be builders waiting to put a fence, and then you come, here you go, this is what you bought. You say, wow, there was a big garden here. Wow, look at the legal park. The legal park said this lot is being offered without the retracted land to it. So those are some of the biggest mistakes I've seen people make at auction. There's a lot more, but we need to be here all day to actually go through all those. Maybe when the pops come back, we can be in the pub all evening and go through all the mistakes that people make at auction. So is there any more questions at all? Did you get through?
I did get through to Darren.
Yeah.
But,
when it's ready, I can go off. I can ramble on all night. So
if you can rabbit all night, Sam,
yeah,
it's fine with me. I'm sure it's fine with others. But
yeah,
Darren's internet's gone down.
Oh yeah, okay. So as soon as you get
trying
him
all the time to get back to us.
Yeah, or if you have anything else to do, just shut me off and I'll go.
Yeah, I'll give you a shout if I need to, but
Okay.
in the meantime, please do carry on.
Okay, so let me look through the questions, or if you want, you can put your hand up and ask questions by yourself if someone wants to talk, because at times I know typing questions can be quite difficult. Has anyone got any question that they want to actually come up and ask in person, so they can actually put their hand up? We can there's some questions that are difficult to type out. Is there anyone that's going to put up their hands to talk?
I've got a question.
Okay, let's go.
If somebody wanted to become a client of yours, how would they go about it?
Yes. Typically what we do is I would you would normally on my link tree, we have a form that you complete to come on, or you can call myself. We'll get you subscribed to our system to receive all our emails of deals. But most importantly, I would have a chat with you, find out what is your strategy, what are you looking for, what is your budget, and how far out of London or within London, what are you looking for? Because what I tend to do, so for you, that's a HMO operator, when you take the legal pack, you're looking for HMO. But for me, because I'm a Mr. General, I look through every single lot to see who is suitable for. So we have a big board. We have like 100 people. We know what they're looking for. So for me, which is why I say it's my hobby, but it's a job for me to look at every single legal pack. So as soon as I see one that I think, oh, this is good for Rod, I'll call you, this is good for Rod, and I call them, this is good for Nick. I call Nick immediately. So when I look through all the properties that are going through, it's really because that's my job. And at times when you listen to someone like myself, Pure and Jay speaking, can be quite sad. Oh yeah, did you see this property? Did you see that? So we kind of like just love looking at the lots, but it's with a purpose in mind. Because if I know what you're looking for, right now, if I speak to one-on-one to one person here and they tell me what they're looking for, I might already know one property that's listed at auction house for you, or with also I said, wow, there's a good property, you might want to look at that property. So I hope that answers your question. But long and short, just WhatsApp me. I think I can put my number into the chat. If you just send me a WhatsApp, if I'm or you do you want to just put my number into WhatsApp if anyone wants to contact you?
If they want to, you can WhatsApp the online property meet's got a WhatsApp group. If you want to,
okay, yes. Oh yeah, okay, yes. Subscribe me on that. It would be great to join the WhatsApp group and provide some.
We'll put you on it if you want to be on it, Sam.
Oh yeah, please do. Yes, it would be good to be on the WhatsApp group and answer a few questions when people have them. Like you say, you can tell I love doing this. It adds a lot of value to people.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Can we go through more case studies? Okay. Can you need a solicitor to read legal? Do we need? Yeah. Do you need a solicitor to read legal packs? Yes. For me, what I tend to do is I say to people, you have to educate yourself, because if it looks like a lemon, then it's probably a lemon. There's no point you asking any specialist if it's a lemon. So what I do is that at times we'll run workshops to teach people how to read legal packs, and I make it very clear that we're not replacing your solicitor. That solicitors, what you need to have is you need to have the skills yourself to actually look through a legal pack, and then it's only when you decide that I'm going to buy it, then you then send it to a solicitor. Most solicitors will charge maybe about 250, 300 pounds to look through a legal pack, and then once you buy that property, that 250, 300 pounds become part of the fee. But if you didn't buy it, 250, that I'm afraid it's a bottle of champagne in London. You can give that up because it will save you more money. I see a lot of people that can buy properties at auction without getting a solicitor to look at it because they're trying to save 300 pounds. I think you're just trying to be a bit. I will not, as much as I have my love-hate relationship with solicitors, but one thing I do not do myself, I think I probably look through more legal packs a month than most solicitors do during their whole career as a solicitor. But I will not buy, even myself, without making sure that a solicitor looks at it, because they have the indemnity insurance. In case I get it wrong, I don't have any recourse. But if the solicitors get it wrong, you can actually pick up on the indemnity insurance. So yes, to cut a long story short, yes, I think get solicitors to look at your legal pack, and not every single property. You need to equip yourself with the skills, or be working with someone like me that has the skills as a layman to look at a legal pack and only say, yes, this is a good one, let's contact a solicitor. Okay, let me see, just wanted to Okay, let me see. There are quite a few questions in here. Okay, let me see that. Okay, try dropping out. Okay, so then in terms of questions, I mentioned something about underwriting. I don't know, has anyone here ever heard of that term, underwriting at auction? If you say yes, if you have, underwriting is a very technical aspect of property auctions. It's something that is not done every day, but it just gives you the ability to buy a property, to commit to buying a property and then still put it on auction again without buying it. Does that make sense? Just to explain it, if say a property is being sold for it's got a guide price of 100,000, and the vendor was expecting to have maybe 120, 130. You come and you make an offer of 110 to the vendor. The auctioneer might advise the vendor saying, you've got an offer of 110. You might go to the room and not get 110, it might not get sold, or you might sell it even lower, maybe 105 might be that reserve. Why don't you take this 110 as an underwrite? If the vendor accepts to have it as an underwrite, what will happen is that you would put your 10% as if you're buying for 110. But that property doesn't get taken out of auction. It goes back into auction. It stays in auction, but you have underwritten at 110 and you have to stay quiet about it, not let anyone know you've underwritten it. And then if it sells, if it goes to the room, it only bids to 105, you would buy for 110. If it goes to the room and it sells for 120, that's 10,000 difference. You, the underwriter, share the difference 50-50 with the vendor. My last biggest underwrite, which I facilitated, was about HMO, and this guy made 50,000 on the day without buying the property. How about that? He made 50,000 on the day for underwriting a property, HMO on Heaton Avenue in Romford. So it's all on the case study. I've got lots of case studies to go through. So that guy made 50K on the day, sitting in the auction company, sitting there at home without buying it. So very interesting story. Guys, one of my Jewish clients in Stamford Hill. And as it so happens, his wife gave birth that day to a boy, to a son. So he was quite happy. He said he made 50K that day, and his wife giving birth to a son. And he kind of like called me and said, oh yeah, he's named the son Samuel after me. It was a joke, and I follow up with a joke as well. I say, hey, you know, if you really want to name that children after me, I think I'm named after your granddad. Call him Fungo. It would be good to have a young Jewish guy young Jewish boy in Stamford Hill running with a skull cap called Fungo. That I would know you actually named them after me, but that's a joke anyway. Yeah, but good. Then what else do we have here as a question? Okay, yeah, Margaret. Okay, so let's see. Well, okay, so let me just see any more questions in here.
A couple of hands up.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, bring them up. I think it's a lot more. It's a lot better when people can actually talk and then ask.
I didn't see them, and somebody put a notice in.
Yeah, the questions are people can ask a lot better when they talk.
Okay, Tapua, is that right? Is that right pronunciation?
It's close enough. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rob. Thank you very much, Sam. Really insightful. You spoke earlier about properties with short leases,
Yes.
which is interesting because it's something I've started looking at as a strategy, you know, quite recently myself. What should you look out for? What are the pitfalls? What are some of the easy mistakes to make for somebody who's just starting out with that strategy?
Okay. When it comes to leasehold properties, funny enough, that property that I say I saw in Liverpool, someone that came to the room that had missed buying a short lease property. When it comes to short lease properties, what I need to look at is what is the length of the lease. There's some important years in leasehold. You have 90 years, 80, going down to 70, and then you get 50. all those years, they have some significance to it. And the significance is quite involved when you look at it as a strategy. Basically, under 80 years, it's really 80 is a threshold where most high street lenders will not lend against. So once it goes below 80 years, you start looking at specialist lenders and you start looking at extending the lease. And then once again, it goes down below 50 years. 50 years, there's a website that you can actually get an estimate of how much you can extend a lease for. When it goes below 50 years, that website cannot be accurate. And then below 80 years, you start paying a marriage value, which is quite a long discussion. But in terms of short leases, when you're buying a short lease property, you should be finding out how much it will cost to extend that lease back to a full lease of maybe 150 or 999 years. And then if you can actually get the vendor to serve what they call Section 42, which is is a service that the leaseholder says to the freeholder, I want to extend the lease, and then they start negotiating the number. So after the Section 42 is served, if it's an easygoing freeholder, they can do it informally. If it's not, they have to go through the tribunal and then agree a number. So if you do not get your vendor to actually serve that Section 42 for you and you buy the property outright, you need to wait for 2 years to have the right to actually serve that notice. So when you can, if you can delay it, if you can get a vendor to serve that Section 42 for you before you buy it, then it makes life a lot easier for you. Funny enough, I've just sent an email out today. I'm acquiring a property in Victoria for a client who agreed price of 470. The vendor, that's cheeky smile. I hope you're not gonna buy that property, but it's not on the market, so you're not gonna see it. The vendor has indeed had about 60,000 agreed as a lease extension, but once it's done, we expect that property to be valued anything above 600, about 620. So my strategy there is I'm going to get them to exchange as quickly as possible before you find out where the property is and bypass us. So we'll exchange immediately 5 or 10,000, and then because the current vendor has a tenant in situ, and then give them time to get rid of the tenants while the tenant is being taken out 2 months, 3 months. I would then instruct a lease extension as if it's a vendor that's doing it. 60,000, then my buyer will pay that money, gets extended. So really, in theory, by the time we extend that property, we buy that property for 470, pay 60,000 for it, it should be worth 620. So it's a BRR with your hands in your pocket. I'm a lazy guy, so I don't want to be digging foundations to extend the property. I just want to sit on my hands and you use your credit card to pay bills and extend the value of the property. So that is a typical what you do for a short lease. Fun enough, I'm here. The room tonight, my clubhouse room tonight is actually on short leases. So I should have been talking about short leases now, but I've got someone who's doing it in place for me so that I can chat here. So it's good that we're talking about short leases as well. But if you're looking at short leases, ping me. It's something that I have a group of people that are actually trying to scout for as many short leases as possible for us to sell to our clients or acquire on behalf of our clients. Have you looked at any in particular recently?
There's actually one I came across, which is not too far from Victoria. It's not that one. It's
Okay.
it's a different one. That's why I was smiling. So yeah, like I said, it's something I've started looking at recently. So I've seen a few, but I'm still learning. So I don't want to jump in too quickly and then obviously get burnt. But I'm trying to. That's why I was asking the question. But I'll definitely get in touch with you if that's okay.
Yeah. So we have a lot of experts around us that do it so that you don't take 1 year, 2 years to learn. Start doing the deals and then you learn as you go along. For us, most of the time we were very transparent. We don't really like do a magic thing and then just say, here you go. You would learn what we're doing for you. And then if you learn and you're powered, you can then do it the next one by yourself. if you want to do it by yourself. But Victoria area is great for SA. So especially the shops, the ones that are smaller blocks or above shops, because then that way, because one of the deals are done in a big block, good, excellent mansion block, but my client wants to do SA and they're having a lot of problems with the management company. So I'm specifically for those my SA clients, I'm looking for properties that are above shop or smaller blocks in central London, where they're not going to have management companies, because some of those management companies can be a bigger problem when it comes to doing SA. Yeah. Okay. So is there any more questions?
There was somebody else in the Silas. Are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
Yeah,
Yes, indeed. Yes.
you had
Silas,
your hand up.
how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. I wanted to find out, would you recommend somebody who is starting out in property, they start buying property at auction? Then the other question is it true that all the properties that are being sold at auction, there's something wrong with them? Thank you.
Okay, I'll start with option number one. Question number one. Lot number one, should someone starting out buy from auction? For me, it's an open book question. So that's why I'm here. What we're here to say, you do not, that what I just said to the previous question is that you do not have to wait for 1 or 2 years to learn. We got into property like 20, 25 years ago. At the time, I did not know anyone else. There were no networking events. You did what you know to do. But right now, we have this platform, Clubhouse, we have Zoom. We know so many people. Why wait for 2 years to learn how to do auctions when there's someone that you can pay them 2% or 5,000 or X amount, they do the deal for you, even probably a lot better than you can do. So to answer your question, if you're a first-time buyer and you want to buy from auction, all you need to do is get someone like myself or get some one that has experience. They will do it for you. And I don't know anyone else. There are quite a few people that offer the same service that I do, and I don't know anyone that will buy for you without you being able to justify that cost of buying it for you. So like the least one that I described, it wasn't for me. My client was actually on holiday. We created more than 60, 70,000 equity for them. If they pay us £10,000, that problem now. So yes, first-time buyers look at auction, but don't go by yourself. You can make a big mistake by using a consultant that will work with you. Then your second question, just you want to remind me just for the audience, I've gone on for the first one. Do you want to ask the second question again? Silas?
The second question was all the properties that are being sold at auction, there's something wrong with them. Is that true?
Okay, I remember that question, but I wanted you to ask again so that it will sink into the audience. When I was talking, I said one of the main reasons why people go to sell at auction is really to have a committed buyer or seller. So most of the properties, they don't have problems. Like I on the slide, I skipped quite a lot of slides. Types of vendors, you have charities. See, like the property I talked about in Kingston, that was being sold by a property. There's so many people in the UK that do not have anyone that would inherit that portfolio. They would give it to a charity. Charities cannot sell without going to auction. So there's nothing wrong with it. Housing associations now have so much money. They're all building tower blocks. They're selling all that small properties. If you look at the auction, you see a lot from there. The properties that are sold in some a council, when the councils are selling, they cannot take offers, they have to sell. So I've already given you about 3 or 4 kind of vendors that use auctions as their only way to sell, because they have to be seen as getting what they call an open market value. So to answer your question shortly, now, not all the properties that go to auctions have problems. They are only there because that's probably the only way that the vendors can guarantee, like probate. Yeah, when you have 2, 3 family members selling, they're fighting, they cannot agree on anything. The only way that you want to sell that property is an auction where the value, the auctioneer hits the gravel down and sells it. The brother and the sister are not fighting over the value. So now it's not every property that has a problem. And those that have a problem, those are the ones that we love because we have the skill to solve the problem. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions at all?
Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah. Right. Do we have any more? Any hands up?
I'm just
Okay.
replying
So,
to Margaret, who asked for your WhatsApp number, and I've just said that you're joining the WhatsApp property.
Yeah, I'll be in the WhatsApp group. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be in the
And
WhatsApp
then
group.
people can contact you from there, can't
Yeah.
they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's that. Have we got any more questions? I haven't heard from Darren. Yeah, I haven't. He's not there.
Sorry, Sam, do you mind going through some of the case studies that you didn't go through before, if that's okay, please?
Okay, so you want to look at other case studies, and like I said, because all the presentation, because what I did, I skipped a lot of the presentation because I knew that when I go through the case studies, I will cover some of the elements. Because I tend to do that when I don't have a lot of time to talk. Let me see, where's my mouse? Because I think I put my mouse away. Yeah, let me see where I left my mouse that I can go through and then look through here, because the case studies are they're very good for learning because they're really funny enough. I used to, when at the beginning of Clubhouse, I used to do these presentations for 40, 50, 100 people come on, and I went through all the auction stuff, then did the case studies for like 5-10 minutes at the end. I realized that everyone wanted the case studies to actually see how they can practically make money. Because when you talk about theory, people don't know, they think they can read the theory from books, so they really want someone to tell them about case studies. This is what was done to get this done, and that is what we can talk about, more case studies. Okay, I think I talked about this one. Okay, then let me look at yeah, this one. Yes. Okay, this one would cover a few elements: social housing. I mean, again, like I said, I wasn't blowing on trumpet. I say when it comes to property strategy, there's hardly a strategy that I don't know, and that's what happens. You see, when you go to an estate agents are salespeople. They need more sales knowledge than property knowledge. When you become an auctioneer, you need more property knowledge than sales knowledge. To someone like Jay, Piotr, all of us in this space, we have the skills, everything. We have to understand all strategies, because when we see a property, we need to look at it from multiple angles. We don't just see a property and then walk away. Those of you here that drive on the North Circular, you have seen this building directly opposite IKEA, opposite Tesco, IKEA, right there. It looks like a factory, and it was a factory before. It's been converted into flats, but it has very good name called the Bookman Mansions. So when I first asked to value the property, without me Googling it, I see the Book Center Mansion. I thought, wow. And I saw what the vendor was looking for to sell the property, and I thought, wow, it must be a great building. But until I Googled it, and I thought, whoa, this one, if you come to it, it's a very undesirable building when you go to it, to put it bluntly. But the vendor was looking for a lot for the property. And why were they looking for a lot? If you look at it, it's not the best property, but if you look at the description, it's generating so much money because they are using what they call 1+1 in social housing. So what some people do is that they buy a 2-bedroom flat that has 2 separate rooms, a living room and a kitchen. And if it has 2 bathrooms, the better. If it has an ensuite and bathroom, it's great. So what they do is that they buy them in an area like in London, in Brent, the North Circular. On the north side, the LHA rate is very low. On the south side, the LHA rate is much higher. So just having this North Circular right in front here, it's a North Circular, If you buy on the south side, it's a high LHA. So what they do, they look at a 2-bedroom flat, 2 living rooms or 2 bathrooms. Then they take 2 single people over 34, get them to rent them, and then you complete the universal credit form, and then they rent them as 2 1-bedroom flats. So you automatically turn a 2-bedroom flat into 2 1-bedroom on paper by renting it to 2 of those LHA tenants. What then happens is that the yield becomes very attractive. So this, again, is one of those things where most people will put that in and then sell the property at auction as a high yield. But if you do not understand the strategy, you're not likely going to buy it. But when you have that, there are quite a few people that love that strategy. So they will buy the property based on that high yield. So it's called, it's like 1+1. So that's where people in social care, social housing, not social care, pardon, they call it. So that, again, is one of the case studies that was sold. If you look on paper, that flat was sold much higher than you would normally expect a flat in that state to be sold for because of that. Okay, let me see on this other slide what we have. Okay, here, this other property is on Burnley Road, Wilson, NW10. If you look at this ex-council properties, and there's a similar one that I did in Brixton as well. It's very similar. There's some ex-council townhouses that have a unique building. They build them. Can you see my mouse moving, right? This is a 3-bedroom townhouse, usually with a very big kitchen on the, and this would likely be the window for the kitchen. And this was a house that we were auctioning. And then here is a garage. These are the easiest properties to extend because all you have to do is do what they've done here. So this property was the same as this one. All they've done is built a wall between the front here, convert this garage to a kitchen, stroke living, stroke lounge to make this into a 5-bedroom HMO. And so that's a 15,000 conversion. If I told that maybe 5K, 10K, all you have to do is do what they've done. This white car is blocking this, but all they've done is build a wall in front here. And then this garage right in front of this red car becomes a kitchen stroke living room. And then you have the kitchen up here. It's big enough, but you have to make sure the kitchen is big enough to be a room. In most cases, most of these old Victorian townhouses, they're big enough to become a room. Then the living room, you can make it into an ensuite room. Then the bedrooms are always massive. You make it into an ensuite room. So you can have a property that you buy, you spend maybe £50,000 to convert this into a massive, a great HMO. And those of you who know Burnley Road, NW10, this literally where this car is less than 200 meters to your left. It's Wilson is an underground station. So this will be a great HMO. So you can easily convert this. These are some of the properties that go wild in the room. From 275, it sells for 406 because a few people knew what they were looking at. And funny enough, the person who bought the property never came to view it, but he knew because he owns one a few doors down. So he was going to buy this property no matter what. So see, so when it comes to auction properties, people buy based on what they know. The ordinary person, like the first-time buyer that does not understand, they are looking at the auction property on the merits of the property. People like us, we're looking for problems, we're looking for the potential. What can this property become? What is the problem with this property? How can that problem be solved? We do not, I don't just look at the property like this and then look at the comparables and say, wow, it's 275, they're selling for 350, so I'm going to bid to 340. You look at what can you do because you're buying an opportunity. And if you do not know the opportunity, how much can you pay for that opportunity? You cannot know, you cannot price the opportunity if you do not know it. So when you see the townhouses, I think on this, I don't have the one in Brixton. I'll show you it's identical to this, and a lot of boroughs have these townhouses. Just look at them. Is it the cheapest conversion you ever do in your life? You can do this in a day. You get a lazy bricklayer, they can come in and build this front wall. This is it. Build this line, and you've done a conversion. And you can go out there and say, I'm a property developer. I've developed properties. So it's the opportunity you need to look at when you go to view properties, and not just look at the property and then walk away. Okay, so let me see which other case studies are here. Okay, this other case study here is quite important to actually talk about this one. Okay, this property here is some shop and uppers. The property was guided at 210. The current rent is 17,000. It's a shop and a 2-bedroom flat over it. These are what is described as a secondary parade in terms of high streets. If you look at a typical high street, you might not want to live on it, but this, just look at this next door is a house. And this house, there was one here for sale for 400,000, a 3-bed semi. So you can see it's a very nice neighborhood. And this, from this shape, you can see that this used to be a house, right? Then for this one, the rent of 17,000, if you buy this, which it was bought, it was sold at 267. If you look at 267, it's about 7 or 8% yield. In London, it's still good rent, because mind you, when you have a property that people live in it, yeah, if someone gets up at night on Christmas Eve, they cannot flush the toilet, they will call you, or of course, I hope they don't call you, but some tenants will call you and say, my toilet is not flushed. But when you have a commercial tenant, they will never call you. For 5 years, 10 years, it's fully insuring and repairing. They will do all the repairs themselves. So if you're getting a 7% yield, that's fantastic. So even just buying this property, 17,000 at this number is fantastic. No problem. It's not the best yield in the world, but in Kingston, it's great, right? So, Worthing on Thames, sorry, it's a great yield. But now look at the upside again to it. The next exit strategy that you will look at. You can go, Corals are using this shop only, and then they're renting out the top flat. You can go and say to them, I would reduce your rents to maybe 10,000 if you surrender the top part to me and you only use the ground floor. Most often than not, they will accept it, because in those days when the leases were being done, the landlord wanted to just give the shop an upper and then walk away. You can change your lease to only give them the ground floor. Then you take the upstairs, you build into the loft, and have a HMO on the loft. Yeah. And you can even start more of a deal with them, because this house has a long garden. You can use what they call the planning permissions have changed a lot. You can build a 1-bedroom flat or some more a flat at the back of this property without planning permission, under permitted development. You can do a loft. So when I look at auctions, I do not look at the property in front of me. I look behind. When I say behind, literally, I look at what can that property become? What can we do with it? It's not just what you're looking at. Oh yeah, wow, this property is this. I look at what are the exit strategy. I need to look at 2, 3, 4. How do I get out of this property? What can be done? Now, one of the things that most people don't buy commercial properties, they're scared that, oh yeah, if the tenant leaves, you might take ages to get a new tenant. Yes, that's true. That's a great concern. If you're buying a John Lewis leaves, you take ages to get a different John Lewis in there, because it's a massive building. But this kind of commercial property, the risks are minimal. From when Boris Johnson stood in front of Downing Street and said, "Bill, Bill, Bill," they changed planning in one sweeping move, more than it's ever been changed for the last 60 years in the UK. What that means is that you can quickly convert this shop into resi if you have to. Corals might not stay in here. When this lease ends in about 4 or 5 years, they will likely close down. If you observe on your high street, 10, 15 years ago, there used to be a few betting shops. They were big, they had TV screens in them, and some people would just stay there all day, drink their beers, smoke cigarette in there. Those were the good old days when you could smoke in the shop, in the betting shop, and watch horse racing all day. And then suddenly the trend changed. The betting shops got smaller, and then there are a lot more of them. So if you go on a typical high street, like on this high street, those of you who've driven on this high street, or you drive on Holloway Road, or you drive on any high street in Stoke-on-Trent, in Croydon, you will see that there are 4 or 5 corals on a long stretch, because the law changed, where the government changed the laws and said there's some machines that auction that the betting companies make a lot of money from. They changed that you can only have one of that machine in a shop. So what do betting companies do? They get many small shops that they can get those machines in to those shops. That's why if you didn't know why, that's why betting shops actually slim down, because now if you drive on a stretch of Holloway Road or some long road, you see the same betting company will have 3 or 4 shops, because they want to put each machine, instead of the 4 machines being in one room, one door, they have to put it on 3 or 4 places. What the government has changed recently is that they've put a limit to how much you can bet at the same time. So that has made those machines not viable. And that's why most betting shops will close down right now. By the way, for full disclosure, I'm not a gambler, so don't think I know this because I'm a client. I just know this for business reasons. But so right now, betting shops are a good bet to buy, because they will likely close down. And when they do close down, if this shop actually lives in 4 years, this buyer will make more money, because if you convert this to resi, you'll make more money than it being commercial. So so on that note, what I'm saying is when you go out to look at, you need multiple skills to be able to, and like the questions that the gentleman asked, I don't expect you to wait for the next 5, 6 years, because to get to my level of skills, some of you might require 5, 6 years of learning everything to get to my skills. You don't have to. You can leverage off our skill set, and then come to me and say, Sam, I've got 200,000 cash, I've got 50,000. How can I, what is the best thing for me to buy from auction? I'll say, well, I don't know. I'll keep a number, I'll call you. And then one day, always text me once in a while, how are you? If Arsenal wins a game, write to me and say, congratulations. I know it's not going to happen. Well, Arsenal's been winning a few games lately, but what's going to happen is that one day I'll call you and say, oh, did you say you have 50,000 or 100,000? I've got a deal for you here. And you don't have to say yes to me. You can say no. So there's no pressure. You don't have to pay any money to us. It's only if we bring a deal that you like and we analyze it and you want it, you bid and we'll buy it for you. We either buy in a room or after, but as long as you sign up that you want that bid, that property, we're going to actually do our best to get it for you. But we have the knowledge base to look at a deal from a holistic point of view. We understand the economics, we understand what's happening with betting shops, we understand what's happening out there. And that's the kind of, it's like you need to, it's like you're driving in reverse. You need to actually be seeing what else is happening in the rear mirror. Okay, so I'm just trying to see if there's any other case study on this particular presentation, or can download a different one that has a different skill set.
Sam, do you have anything on title splitting, please?
Okay, title splitting. Oh, yes. I don't know if I can find it, but I can explain the oh, okay. Oh, funny enough, did you see this before asking?
I was in the spirit.
Oh yeah, this one, yeah, it's quite interesting. This one, it's a typical title splitting. I'll just use it as an example to explain what title splitting is. This one is in a lovely Luton. It's a detached block, two-bedroom flats and one-bedroom flat at the top. This one, it was sold. We acquired it for a client as a freehold property. They bought it for what, 390 plus a fee to us right during the peak of lockdown 1 when he couldn't do viewings, and somehow we went to the back, saw it's a massive garden at the back. We managed to convince him to buy without seeing it. But what will happen is that it's all freehold building. The theory between of title splitting is that this property, you buy it for 390, but a typical, because they're two-bedroom flats are very big. And the good thing about the two-bedroom flats here is that they have 2 rooms, a kitchen, a living room. So you can actually have multiple per share if you want to. Unlike typically the conversion flats, they tend to have 2 rooms, a kitchen, stroke open kitchen sitting room together. So these are really they're very big flats. So you can't even have any comparables in Luton for it. So if you split them now on each flat, the 2 flats will probably, the 2-bedroom flats will probably fetch about 230. So if you look at the two-bedroom flats, they are already almost 400 something. So the two-bedroom flats, if you split the title, you have a freehold title for 15,000. You have the 2 flats, maybe 220 each. That's already 420. You've already got your money back for buying that flat for 390 plus a fee. And then the 1-bedroom in the loft, that will probably be about 140. So that's your profit. So this as a BRRR. So if this guy now can take this property, split it in, refinance them, he would walk away with 390 straight away. Yeah. So it's a BRR again with your hands in your pocket, because he's not had to do anything apart from buy a block, what I call unbroken chain of freeholds. Let me show you one again that I'm actually looking at one right now for a client. So yeah, so does that explain title splitting?
Yes, that was a good explanation for me. I don't know about for everybody else, but that was good. Thank you.
So it splits the title. So you buy a property on the freehold and then split the titles. And was it a coincidence, or did you see that as a title split? Or was it a
complete coincidence?
Okay,
coincidence. So it was something I was curious about. Like I said, it's a new strategy that I'm wanting to look at. So I'm glad that you touched on it. But because you'd spoken about so many other things, I just wondered if that was something that you had as well.
Yeah, that was a title split. So I have lots of case studies that will cover everything. But in terms of that, let me see what I'm looking for here. So let's just see. Oh yeah, let me see what am I looking at here. KT. Okay, so in terms of title splitting, I'll show you what I've been doing for various clients. You're not seeing my screen, are you? Okay. So you this one, it's this is a typical title splitting project, right? Well, okay, I'm giving you the address when I haven't bought the property as my client. An unbroken, newly developed block of flats in Asia, stockbroker belt. They're looking for offers in excess of 2.5 million. This, if you're wondering why I didn't sleep last night and night before last, I was doing all the comparables for this. I'm getting my client, I'm putting an offer in to buy this for my client. just over 2.5 million. So we're gonna bridge it, acquire the property, but the exit strategy is to give it to a service accommodation provider. So if any of you here are offering SA, so you can take this address down, look at these flats, make an offer to me, because I'm likely going to be buying this with my client. But what we intend to then do, he will bridge it for about 6 months to a year. We'll get a solicitor to create leases for all the properties, do a freehold, and then get mortgages for each flat individually, and then get back all his money out of it. And they will leave it with a service provider for about 10 years to give him infinite return on his money. But for most of the clients some of the clients that we deal with, it's only 2.5 million for them. So can you see a typical title splitting on the higher end? Yeah. So that is a project that we're still looking at this one. I've just made an offer today, and I've not viewed it yet. So I'm going to view it. But my client is very determined, and I love the clients who there are two ways that you can work with somebody. You can either sell them a house, a property, or you buy them a property. I prefer to work with clients that want me to buy them a property. So what that means is that I know what money they have, and I can walk in, look at this property and say, yes, I'll take it. I know the client's going to take it. They're not going to say no. But some people want you to sell them a property. So we look at the property, we take them, we say, I don't like it. So there's some clients that haven't got time to come into the mix. You just look at the property and you tell them they take it. So this is one. And then there's a different one in Ealing that we're putting a bid for about 3.5 million. It's
Was that, sorry,
well.
Sam, was that Esher one, was it purpose built or was it converted?
It's the conversion. That is a big house that's been converted to edge flats. Yeah. Yeah. Do we have our man yet? Because I promised.
Yeah. Hi, Sam. Yes, it doesn't. I mean, it's gone 9 o'clock. It's gone sort of end of meet time, really. And he hasn't come back. I assume the internet's gone down and he can't get back to us.
Okay, so maybe what I'll do, I promise my co-host on Clubhouse, I'll catch up with them before now. But I was enjoying this. I thought when you go to a party, you're enjoying it. There's no point leaving to a different party. You must enjoy that one. Yeah, but
glad to have you here, mate. Glad to have you here.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's always good doing what I enjoy doing the most. So thank you, and I look forward to maybe if you ever need the service again, let me know. Come back. Maybe myself and Jay can come and do a double sometime.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Good.
Jay's good fun. Yeah, we know Jay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's good stuff. Okay. So is he you think he's not gonna come, or you're gonna continue?
I think he's not gonna come. I haven't heard from, I don't think he sent me a message actually. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So you have my number.
I have your number. I'm going to give you a ring tomorrow. Yeah,
and then just add me to the WhatsApp group, Rob.
I'll put you on the WhatsApp group.
Okay, that's good.
And yeah, by all means, we'll chat soon.
Okay, yeah. So what we'll do, so thanks again for the opportunity. If we can any more questions, we can continue in the WhatsApp group. I'll join it from maybe tomorrow. We can catch up in there, and hopefully we get to catch up in person soon.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, we might actually meet some of these people that we've been talking to over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I think I recognize quite a few of the names on the on here actually. Some of the people from Clubhouse, some of them, because I say I've done so many events over the last 8 years, especially the Brent, Barnett, Heverin, all the landlord events. So I get to recognize most of the landlords or most of the time on the list. But okay, thank you.
What I would say before we go to anyone that's interested, Darren Hutton runs a company. He's an EPC man, and what he was going to talk about was in a couple of years' time. I wasn't aware of this, but in a couple of years' time, the government are putting out new rules and regulations which require people to update their EPCs. and Darren was going to come and talk about that. So anyone that's interested, please watch us, and I'll get him to either come next month or I'll get him to come soon. Okay.
Yeah. And that's very important, especially people that are looking at listed buildings, because some of the older Victorian buildings, because Victorian buildings, they can cost a lot to actually get the EPCs done if you get a Victorian building. So yeah, no. So I think it's
on its way. It's a couple of
no,
years off, but it's on its way.
Yeah. No, Darren's an important talk. It'll be a very important talk. I look forward to. Hopefully, I'll get an invite. I would definitely log on to listen to that. It's good. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Cheers, Sam.
All right.
Just
Thank
like
you.
to say thank you to everyone that came to our audience. First of all, because without you, we wouldn't have a show. Thank you to our speakers, Will and Sam. Thank you to our sponsors, who are Luck Capital, HD Property, and Property CEO. Thank you from me. Thank you from Dan, the technical man, and we'll see you all next month, when we will have, who will we have? We'll have Will Lucy and Mike Frisbee talking to us. Further details to follow in the WhatsApp group and on Facebook. Cheers, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Okay.